Please welcome Spirit Award nominee Simon Rex. How's it going? Welcome to Santa Barbara.
Thank you.
I love it with the subtitles. It's all the more fun.
Oh, there were subtitles?
Yes. Not to start off with something sad, but I'm really glad they showed that clip. I love that clip. I love everybody in this film. But Brenda Dice, who played Lil, just passed away within the last month. And this was her one and only film credit, and I just think she was brilliant. And I'd love to know what your memories are of her.
Yeah, it's really sad. She was wonderful, and as I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Sean does a lot of street casting, and in Texas, where we shot this, he was location scouting, and he was in a porta potty in this area where we were shooting, and he opens the door of the porta potty, and there's this woman immediately in his face. It was Brenda, and she needed a jump for her car, and he said, "I think we just found our mother-in-law," and cast her in the movie, and she was amazing, and she was just so wonderful. It's really sad. I still haven't processed it all, and she never got to see the movie. I know. She never got to see the movie, and she was. There was a few times while we were shooting the movie where she would just disappear, and we couldn't find her. And I would show up to work ready with very long memorized scenes, and we couldn't find her. She would just be missing, calling police, calling hospitals, and we'd have to pivot and shoot a whole other day, and I'd have to work on another scene, and then we'd find her. The whole movie was sort of like that. It was chaos, shooting during the pandemic, working with first-time actors, not non-actors, first-time actors, because they're really good actors, and Sean has a knack for finding people that just have the thing. And his wife, Sean's wife, who was one of the producers, Sam Kwan, she would give them a 101 crash course in acting. So he would find someone on the streets and give them a 1-week crash course in acting, and then they were amazing.
Incredible.
Incredible.
Every single person.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you talk about the chaos of this movie, and I still don't fully understand, and I've interviewed Sean Baker, and I've tried to get to the bottom of this, and I don't really fully understand why you only had 3 days notice, like between getting cast and then getting down to Texas. Why was it so last minute?
There was a lot of reasons. There was a lot of, again, we shot this in July of 2020, and the COVID testing was not that good. So what would happen was Sean had a couple false positives, and he would have to come back to LA, and the whole thing was just almost didn't even happen. The whole movie happened as a happy accident. He was working on another movie with Willem Dafoe up in Canada in pre-production. They had to shut it down because of COVID, and at the very last minute, Alex Sachs, one of the producers, said, "Why don't we do another movie?" So Sean already had an idea for this film, really quickly wrote it with Chris Bergosh, his writing partner, so the whole thing happened very last minute. And I was brought on at the very last minute, and I had 3 days to drive to Texas, because if I flew, they would have had to quarantine me for a week, and that would have fallen into production. So I had to drive to Texas and memorize that script very fast. It was a lot. It was a lot of improv, though. In the end it was about 25% improv, which is a lot of fun. Nowadays, no one gets to improv on film. We shot that on 16 millimeter, which was really cool. So there was that pressure of like, oh, you can't mess up your lines. We're shooting on film. We had no permits, so we would be hiding from police. We would be shooting. That's why we weren't eligible for SAG. It was a non-union film, so we weren't eligible for any SAG awards. And the whole thing was just chaos, but I think it worked, the whole thing being crazy, because that energy of us hiding from police and neighbors and shooting, like it was like a student film. And we had a 10-person crew. Everybody was doing, like multiple jobs. It was basically a $1 million budget. That's not a lot. It was chaos. But again, I think that worked to our advantage because the energy translates through that 16 millimeter film.
You talk about the massive memorization you had to do in a very short period of time. Is that something you've always been good at, or did you have to kind of surprise yourself?
Well, I'll be honest, I hadn't really worked in a long time. Sean really, took a chance with me. I basically, I don't want to say I quit the business, but I moved out to the desert. I moved to Joshua Tree after 20 years of the LA grind of, trying to make it and working a bit. And before this, I hadn't done much, maybe an indie movie a year here and there. And I sort of just surrendered and accepted the fact that maybe it's over and that's okay. And of course, I don't want to sound like a weird hippie, but there's this, universal law that like sometimes when you let go, things come to you, the less you want it. And that's what happened in this case was as soon as I moved out to the desert, I get the job of my life. Yeah.
Fantastic.
But I mean, you could applaud me, but it wasn't a like I did it on purpose. It just happened.
Right. I love watching your performance as Mikey. I mean, he's this charm. He puts the offensive in charm offensive, right?
Well,
I mean, and everything on his face, the face is always moving because he's always trying to ingratiate, himself with everybody. How exhausting was it for you physically to play him with all the energy that he exudes? What happened at the end of a shoot day?
It was very exhausting on so many levels, but I a lot of coffee. That helped. And this is one of those ones where it was like, considering how much, I mean, I was, if anyone's seen the movie, I'm on page 1 to the last page. I'm in the whole film, and it was a lot to carry on my shoulders. And in this case, I'm not saying this for every film, but sometimes the less you prepare, maybe the better. It just felt like it was we were just in this flow state where we weren't thinking, we were just doing and constantly pivoting. And sometimes the magic happens in that, We didn't have trailers. I'd be sitting in my car between takes and with the air conditioning on. And, but I loved it. And even Sean Baker afterwards said, I want to do more movies like this with a small crew because you're forced to have these, serendipitous moments happen that you see on the screen.
Obviously, you're playing a character. It's Mikey. It's not Simon. But what's it like just to have people ripping on you, 8 hours a day? Everywhere this guy goes, people are just shitting on him everywhere he goes.
I mean, I love it. I'm very self-deprecating. I like to be the butt of the joke. I make fun of myself all the time. I like to say I don't take myself too seriously, but I do take the work seriously. And I think and Sean just really gave me a lot of freedom, and he really trusted me. There was a lot of trust. Like when I got this job, Sean he got my number directly from a mutual friend, and he calls me up, and I was just sitting in Joshua Tree, wondering, like we all were, July of 2020, like what's going on. And he basically called me up and said, look, I know you don't know me, but do you trust me? And I said, yeah, I do. Because I'd seen his films, and I could tell you could just tell from his movies, he's just a good dude and an empath and a sensitive, good person. And I trusted him, and he said, you're not going to make any money, I'm not going to make any money. We're going to make a cool movie. Are you in? And I said yes before I even read the script.
Wow.
And then I read the script. I was like, whoa, this is a lot. And there was a lot of trust happening. And I'm just so grateful to have worked with Sean. He's just such a brilliant guy, and I just respect him so much. And again, he rolled the dice on me when, I couldn't even get a call back or an audition. So I'm very grateful just to be here. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who know a lot about film in this audience, but when he's talking about Sean Baker, you should see The Florida Project. You should see Tangerine. These movies that he's made are just terrific. I want to finish with one thing. You talk about this kind of being the job of your lifetime, the part of your lifetime. Not to get cheesy on you, but what does it feel like? What goes through your mind when you watch this film and you see what you've done?
Honestly, like for the first time, it's very rare in this business you do a job that you're proud of and you want people to see. That you're lucky to get a job in this business normally that you don't even like. So for the first time in a very long time, I was excited to share this film with the world and with friends, and that's rare, and this is just one of those special, projects that is like a once in a lifetime thing, and it's just, basically now so many people within the industry have seen it. Obviously not a lot of people are going to the theaters. It's an indie film. It was sort of released in certain cities. So it's not like it's doing amazing at the box office. It's not Spider-Man or the Batman, as they call it now. The Batman sounds like your old aunt named it. That's the Batman. But it's, wait, what was the question?
How you feel watching it?
Oh yeah, I love watching it, and it's it's weird to watch because it's all a blur. It happened so fast. By the time it was over, it was almost like we shot this in 3.5 weeks, and it was like, what just happened? We barely even got through shooting it. So not only I didn't think we would get through the movie, much less be in Cannes and festivals like this and getting the respect from real film lovers and cinephiles such as yourself. So it's really cool to be taken seriously for the first time, because I've usually done like silly comedy movies like Scary Movie, which are great, but they're not, Scary Movie fans. Yeah. So it's really cool to have done the indie circuit and get to go do festivals and travel the world and have true, fans of films respect your work. I'm not used to that, so I'm enjoying it.
Well, you're a joy to watch.
Thank you.
And it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Simon Rex, everybody.
Thank you.
You can stay right there for a sec.
Oh, yeah.
7 down, 1 to go. And that's Troy Kotzer from Coda. Let's take a look at a scene featuring Troy.